Okay, this is just an intro to the video on me painting this one, which I was in two minds whether to do a video on it or not, and then as I got further into it I thought yeah I would, for the reason I explained in the other video. I got some tips from a few people. My mate Tony down the road, who does Porsches mainly, so cheers Tony, and some ideas off that chap Keith in the Painting Classic Cars videos, plus a few others on YouTube, you know, some in America, etc. There's loads out there, far better than me. But you'll see a couple of bits where it's in its original gold. I'll put a couple of pictures up of when I bought it in the auction. It's 1.8 RS, so it's 6-speed limit slip diff, with the PitCrew front end. The roof was tatty. That was in the auction, but I got it quite cheap. So anyway, this is, I think, was October or 2 years ago. And so I thought, no, it's a nice clean car, no rust in it whatsoever. I'll do a proper job. So as I sort of went through it, I had 2 litres of paint from where I was just going to toss over the previous car, and that's like direct gloss 2-pack. And as I started doing this, and I was painting the insides of the bonnet, the inside of the boot, inside the boot area, and the door shuts, and I thought, well, I'm never going to have enough paint, so I got a load more, and then redid everything, and put about 3 coats on the outside. So you'll see a couple of pictures as it was in gold, and then it will be me starting to split it up, and the way I did it, and problems with these bit, with the front bit and stuff like that. So congratulations if you managed to watch to the end, but watch the intro on my thoughts on painting cars and what it costs. It's about, I don't know, 25 minutes of just me droning on. Let me know what you think of that, and then watch the video of painting the gold Rapier Fastback, which I did the other end of the scale, to see how to see what kind of job I could do if I just try like minimum effort, or doing stuff quickly and just like, you know, better than nothing kind of job. That makes sense. Thanks. Okay, so I stripped quite a lot of it, taking the badges off. Those weren't on there anyway. They had to put a couple of pins in there, so I'm going to fill those. Strip the shell down, got all this off. I've got to mask all that off. I've taken the belt line, taken the roof off, taken the belt line trim completely off the back. I've taken all the little plastic bungs and the rubber grommets and stuff and the lock all out the back. When I get there, I'm going to take this pipe right off there and take that surround out. So basically everything you'll generally see in the boot, apart from stuff right at the back there, that's just all the wiring that I've undone and tucked up in the corner. I got this tape on there from something. These had a couple of holes in and stuff from where someone fitted side skirts on it, I think, in Japan. Unscrewed all of these. I think it's far easier just to undo this stuff than it is to tape round it, especially doing a colour change. Still take that out, obviously. Doors out and the pins off. Taking everything off the boot. Just doing the insides first, then I'll do the outside. These, I have tried getting these off doors before. You can if you can get access all the way around, but you can never get them all off, and they often break. So I'm just going to paint them. Now I've loosened these. When I actually get to paint it, I'm going to take them off, paint it, and then put them back on, because I want these being the shiny colour. I'm not going to paint the inside. I'm going to mask around the edge, but I'm going to paint up to it. Maybe paint the top edge of there and paint the inside of that. I've keyed up all the inside of the bonnet. Again, taking all the grommets off, the washer jets out and stuff. These little bits all been removed. I've left the bolts in the doors. so that when I paint it, they'll be body colour, and then when they screw back in the hinges, it will look sensible. Right, now because this has got the PitCrew front end, this is like a fiberglass add-on, and it's got like a bit of a crack here, so I'm probably going to have to Dremel this crack out a bit, and then give it a skim and re-sand it. You can see this is where like the add-on goes up to there. This side you can sort of see the join there, but it's not cracked. Oh, actually there is a tiny bit there, so again might scrape that out and bridge it and put it back in. But I'm gonna strip everything out of the engine bay. So common sense stuff first, nuts and bolts, take this off, take the washer bottles off, take the power steering pump off again, whatever I can undo and just sort of lay over there and tie it back to the middle. These bits of wire and just undo, you know, you can take quite a lot of this out. Not sure what to do about the wire yet, whether to push it back in the hole. Normally there isn't really that much room inside, but we'll see. If not, I'll tie it up and leave it at an angle and then spray around it. But most of this stuff we can get out. I don't really want to disconnect all the brake lines. But then I don't want to tape them all up either. So I might just push out all these little grommets and stuff, undo these, and then maybe just loosen it all and move it out of the way. I don't know, we'll see. See when we get there shortly. Right, just take all the bits off, like these brackets are really clean. The towing eye brackets, everything under here being a good import, it's all nice and fresh, look, no rust. All under there, it's great. In here, I mean, even when I was working for Andy at Autolink, 15 years ago, we were breaking like UK cars. They were terrible. But no, these are all lovely. And I got this one in about, what was it, mid last year, summer last year. Right, slowly undoing the stuff from the engine bay and doing these now. With a lot of these little plastic clips, if you just get to behind the little plastic clips and pinch the sides and stuff like these plastic bits, don't pull them up with a you know, squeegee tool or pair of pliers, because if you just get to the back of it, you see it there, you can just pinch the other side like that and lift it up, and it will poke back through the top. Can't really do this one-handed, but you get the idea. You squeeze the little tabs and it'll poke it back through the top, and then you can reuse it. Like the other little grommets, and see little plastic tabs like that. Just squeeze those two little pegs sticking out and it will poke back through. And it will save reusing them. Yeah, anyway, yeah, so if you get them out, you can reuse them. Obviously, something like these, you can't get to the other side and you just have to pry them out carefully, but, you know, gravity holds them in. And just pick out these little rubber grommets carefully. If you can get them from the back, then squeeze them out from the back. Right, now stuff like this. These are like the little ones, little clips on the door. Sort of pull it one way to slide one side of the hoop off one of the ears, and then the other one will go back like that. Put it this way, and that's it, and then it'll relax off the other side. And then just do all of them. And we basically got the left-hand loom free. I've poked that rubber through there so I can either mask around it. Not sure what to do about that yet. Whether wrap it up in a bundle, tie it up, or poke it with a stick so I can sort of paint around it. We'll see. Right, wash it all down with soapy water. Get all the dirt off. I'm going to dry it all off with blue paper. Okay, right, here's a few still shots, basically of, well, I laid all the stuff out. Pretty straightforward, really. Undid everything that I could, took out every little grommet, took all the belt line, the waist trim behind the roof, all the little bits, all of the wiper mechanism. I did leave the air conditioning in because I didn't want to degas it and stuff, so I just masked it up. Taped over the nuts. Only things really was the shock absorber tops. Everything else that I could take out, I removed. I took the clips holding the brake lines out of the bulkhead, taped around all the brake lines, and just sort of left them floating in midair, so I could sort of move them out the way, spray around it, and then move them a bit the other way and spray behind it, so I sort of could cover the bulkhead without too much trouble. Taped the rest of the wiring up, as you can see, in the middle of the engine bay, masked off the engine, and again, so I could paint all around it. Most of the other stuff, like the door shuts and stuff, it was just take everything off, key it all up painstakingly, with the doors, took all the shiny bolts up and bolts off, the locks and stuff, tucked them out the way. As I painted it, moved the hinges one way, moved them the other, paint round it, etc., just to try and coat everything so it was orange. Only snags were really where the PitCrew front end had been stuck on. That was cracking. So I just took all the filler out, took it back to nothing, cut through that little slot you see there, re-glued it underneath, then filled it over, flattered it, and redid it all. The only mistake really at the end, I suppose, after I'd coated it with the orange, was leaving some of the parts outside, and they got all the flies stuck to them, which is a bit of a shame. But generally, the body, apart from those couple of little shadowy dents there in the door, small trolley dings, everything was all pretty straight. So it did come out quite nice. The windscreen as well, I managed to mask around it and just tuck a little bit of string around it. And after I took that out, there weren't really any sort of horrible lines and stuff, and it all came out quite nicely. One thing blew up and just stuck on that, but I'll retouch it. So I don't think I've skipped much. I'm going to I'll put a couple of pictures of these. Where the PitCrew front end was on there, these had cracked, so I basically dug it all out to nothing and filled it in again. I've been putting that stuff back inside the engine bay, so that all looks lovely. And again, this side, dug it all out, filled it in. The whole lot now is going to be primed up. Prime the wings around here. Now, I'm going to try under here, because if you mask up to the windscreen edge, ideally I'd take this out, but I don't think you can get this trim anymore. So, the ones you get tend to be about this fat, and I think look a bit ugly. I haven't really got time to cut the windscreen out and stuff because I'm just limited for space to actually put it somewhere. So what I'm going to try is just tuck in some wool underneath the edge, just to lift it up very slightly like that. And then hopefully when I tape over and mask it up, if it stays up by a little smidgen, then the paint will creep under and it won't sort of end up with like a thick ugly line or a gold gap or overspray on the rubber, etc. But we'll see. I mean, worst ways, I'll just take the windscreen out and do it again anyway. But
but she just goes on CNN and calls everyone racist all day.
Yeah, shame it was didn't have that tip before.
You know what I mean? Churning them through that. Yeah, I look, everybody wants to get paid.
But yeah, with the first batch of orange paint, I painted underneath to get on the ramp, to get it right underneath there. Yeah, I'm going to prime under here. Did the inside of the boot and stuff. This is all keyed up. Again, the bonnet had a little crack where they've got these corner add-ons. You can see a bit of sort of stuff where it wasn't quite level from the previous paint, but I'll see what it looks like when I've primed it. Couple of coats of primer. Again, these are this has all been done orange on the underneath, like the inside of the doors. Just taking the door handles off to do them, and a fuel filler cap. I might put that old funny one on, I don't know, but paint it at the same time. I've got options. And made a couple of little stands just to stick these on there. hopefully the rest of it. Right, this is the time-consuming stuff in paint jobs, filling in 2 little spotty holes and getting all the little sticky stuff off the rear bumper. So yeah, this is just one of the things. I've stripped all the handles, got all the little rubber bits out, put them all back in again. So after all the work's done, it's been a couple of months now. This is, you can see the sort of extent. I did try and paint everything orange, so a little bit of a gold patina if you look right underneath, but otherwise it is orange. I couldn't take the front off because it was, you know, grafted on, and also I am doing this job on my own, so it's difficult. If I try and sort of splitting it off and messing around too much, then I'd be worried that I break it, so it had to stay in situ. You can see that's the sort of the front of the original wing under there, because normally with paint jobs like this, if it was a normal car, I would have taken the wings off and then painted right to the end of the sills, etc. But again, you can't do. This is how I sort of, you can see a bit of a tape mark there. I did undo everything behind here. I unbolted the servo and just sort of had it up, took all the plastics out and the little bungs. So sort of lifted it up out of the way. Painted behind it, sort of best as you can, because you can't really get paint behind there too much. Right to that top edge, so I think it looks pretty good anyway. This keying this up took absolutely ages. You can see this is the fiberglass add-ons. It rubs a little bit on there, you can say. It's but yeah, it's orange, it's shiny, so I'm happy with that. I did catch a bit back here, which is a bit annoying. I'll touch that in when I do the rest of the remedial, couple of remedial repairs. One thing that was a bit annoying, when I painted the primer, I painted the engine bay orange, then I masked it off, painted the car in primer, and we got sort of primer under here on top of some of the masking. And when I took that off and sprayed it orange, some flakes of the grey came off and landed in the paint, which is a bit annoying, so that's what that is. Again, I'm going to put a bit more on that once I do, when I've got to paint the orange headlights surrounds and paint the hardtop. But do this, you can see in the previous pictures, when this was on the trolley, there's a bad run there which I've got to get out, but the plastic that I wrapped around the trolley sort of lifted up when I rolled this out in the wind and the sun, and it stuck on there. So again, I've got to flat that off a bit and then maybe put a bit more paint on it, we'll see. On the whole, I haven't actually cut and polished it, only this part of the wing and some of the bits on the doors where I put the stickers on. But again, this is what I wanted to do to make it look right, because it really annoys me with other paint jobs that aren't sort of I don't know, when they don't take all the bits off in between, and it just, you can see bits of the original colour and stuff. Obviously some of the paint come off those bolts where I was doing them up. I can touch little bits like that in. This was all painted underneath. I painted around the top of the B-pillars as well. All behind the bumper and everything was painted orange. On the whole, it actually came out all right. There's only the odd couple of runs like that which I haven't tackled, but that's textured anyway, so I don't want to sand that down too much. Don't know what that is. I scraped on something. I have to touch it in, but yeah, the 01s again, they turned up in a packet and were misdelivered and were sat in someone's doorstep in the sunshine. So they sort of all went, they bubbled up a bit because they were in like the sort of like there's a covering on the front, plus they're stuck to a backing, and where they were rolled up in a cardboard tube and the heat got to them, they sort of popped up and separated and weren't sat flat. So added to my inexperience of applying decals, they're not that great. Also, I think the O and the 1 should be slightly further apart, but a mate of mine knows someone who can do the proper stuff, so I might get him to do another O1 to better scale along with the Confederate flag on the hardtop, and then put a couple of the little sort of stickers to make it look like the little scoop flutes in a Dodge Charger. But anyway, that's just me being a child. But well, because I can. So yeah, that's the result. Again, it gets there, but it's all time. But, and again, if I had a bit more forward planning and I wasn't driving this myself on the road, then again, another thing I would do would probably be to remove that, take the windscreen completely out, paint the surround and put it back in. You can get this surround, I think, from some specialists. And I did buy brand new door trims. On any car, I would recommend buying these. They're about 40 something pound each, but they make it look loads better. And I got some seats recovered in leather because I just prefer the separate headrest ones. And now I've got them suitably grubby. I don't have to worry about damaging them because, again, like, I'm always in my dirty gear. It's my car. I want to be able to get in it and just use it as a car. So I hope you enjoyed the video, or just get an insight into what you have to do versus if you want this kind of colour change result versus if you just want a cheap paint job, like on the gold Fastback. You can get a cheap paint job, but you're going to have to put up with some flaws.